It is a very meaningful day to just show up. Hi, everyone. Yvonne Heath here, nurse turned author, speaker, and changemaker, and your host. Welcome to Navigating Grief with Heart and Humor, where we talk about, plan, and prepare for grief, transitions, and end of life, and all the messiness in between, long before it arrives and diffuse the fear, so we can live fully now, no matter what we are facing. Most of the time, we have been in the deep trenches of grief, in crisis, faced trauma, the death of a loved one, and we realized how ill prepared we were. We did not have coping skills or strategies, and we suffered excessively. And we are choosing to do it differently next time, from now on, for the rest of our lives. How? By learning, connecting, and supporting one another. And that's what I'm here for. So I am so honored that you are here, and we can do this differently, and we can do this together. So let's get started. As always, I want to land here. I want to forget about everything else that is going on in my life. Yes, we are all very busy, and yet we are taking this time to honor ourselves, honor our journey, and become proactive. Become proactive so that we can be the change we want to see in our lives and teach others by example. Isn't that a wonderful thing to do? So I want to land here. My ritual is to take 2 slow, deep breaths and just inhale through my nose, exhale through my mouth, and just ground myself, be present, and I set my intention. My intention is to share what you need to hear, and I invite you to do the same. Just take whatever moment, however you can be fully present, and set an intention. What is it that you need today? Feel free to join me. Calms my nervous system every single time, even in a moment. So one of the things that I started to do, because of course I say, let's navigate whatever life is throwing at us, whatever we are, or however, when we're supporting others who are going through grief, transitions, end of life, if we can bring heart, humor, and gratitude with us everywhere we go, then we can alleviate excessive suffering, avoid excessive suffering. We can fill our own hearts and souls and that of others. Laughter, joy is never a bad thing. People say, oh, this person is grieving. We shouldn't be laughing. We shouldn't be, sharing funny stories. Of course we should. It's already serious enough. So I'm going to share a fun fact every time I do my show or speak on stage or whatever I'm doing, because we all have so many fun facts to share. So one of mine is, I've probably shared this before, but that's okay. I love this because I've been visiting someone at the hospital, so I was reminiscing the time I left my job at the hospital in 2015, and I've been spending time there. And that is where I met my beautiful, amazing husband, Jordy. And I was a nurse in the emergency department, and he was a paramedic, and he was so cute, and he looked so good in his uniform. And I was kind of smitten. And, of course, I wasn't flirting at work. That's inappropriate. Maybe a little. Anyways, what I loved about him, or at the time liked about him so much, is he was so kind to every single patient he brought in, whether they were being aggressive, whether it was a little old lady, or, sometimes it was a gorgeous young girl, but it didn't matter. He was so kind to everyone. So it's just a little innocent flirting, and then somebody let me know how old he was, and he is 13 and a half years younger than me. 13 and a half. And I was like, oh my goodness. Okay, that I'm going to just back right off. This is ridiculous. My goodness. And yet the flirting continued. And then, we started hanging out a little bit more. Ironically, one of the paramedics' wives died. She was a chemotherapy patient when I worked there. And again, Jordy was so incredible with her. And sadly, she died. And we all just really connected at the funeral. We made sure we said, we're attracted to each other. We're going to have fun. It's not going to go anywhere. We're just having a good time. Well, in September 20th, 2023 will be our 20th wedding anniversary. So it's still not serious, and we're still having fun, and we're still flirting. So I love our story. It is a wonderful love story. It has been a roller coaster of heart, humor, grief, joy, all of it. And through it all, we continue to love one another. And as I'm sharing today, we have been married for 19 years. So I think that's a wonderful story to share, because we often talk about divorce and how many people are either divorced or unhappily married. And, I say, hold on to love. And it's out there when you choose to honor yourself by being your authentic self and being with someone who loves you regardless of your flaws, warts, cellulite, whatever it may be, who loves you for who you are. So that's my fun fact for today. And now I want to share, I have been in the last couple of episodes sharing this incredible story of supporting this gentleman, Joe. This man who did not have a village, did not have a close family, had a brother who is involved from a distance because he doesn't live here, and they hadn't seen each other in 10 years. And so my mom, Joe reached out to my mom reached out to us, and we have been supporting this man. He went from having a back pain, went to the emergency room, thinking that he was going to be going back home, to being bedridden, full of cancer. And 3 days ago, I had the honor and privilege of being at the bedside when Joe took his last breaths. I even as I say it, it's still surreal, because it all happened within 2 months. And there were just so many things to navigate, and in that, it was literally everything that I have been sharing with people about being proactive, talking about planning, preparing long before things arrived, and or end of life or transitions, whatever it may be. And another funny thing, I may have shared this, but I said, I had Joe had my book at his bedside. I said, oh, I read it 3 times. I keep reading it. I just didn't do any of it. And we laughed about it, right? Because here he was, he thought he was going to be going to a nursing home, and he couldn't even get back to his apartment. He had a car, all of these things. And so, wow, it's been an honor and a privilege to help Joe transition and empty his apartment. And with everything that we were doing, the greatest thing in every action that we took is I wanted to honor Joe's life. Even before he died, and more so now, to be the evidence that someone's life made a difference, right? So every time we were cleaning his apartment or taking things out, and I just tidied it, and I looked at it and I thought, oh, this must have been meaningful for Joe. He was a DJ, a disc jockey, and he had all of this equipment. And we honored his stories as we moved through all of his personal belongings. And when Joe, it's interesting because the night before he died, I'd called him to say, Joe, how are things today? I know things are challenging, and a good thing to say is, how are things today? I know things are challenging. And he said, I am not going to be here much longer. I will not be here for another week. We need to expedite everything. I'm done. Give my stuff away. Sell it. I don't care. We need to move forward. We need to do all the paperwork. We need to make sure everything's done. I will not be here. Okay. Okay, Joe, I'll come to the hospital right now. Nope, not today. And so I let his brother, who was in Italy at the time, I let him know what Joe was sharing. The next day, my mom and I went to see Joe, and we could tell that he was done mentally. He was done physically, emotionally, spiritually, and his body was shutting down. And so we stayed with him. And we spent time with him at the bedside. I said, Joe, I'm going to take care of everything. I don't want you to worry. I don't want you to your only job, or the only thing you need to do right now, Joe, is let us know what you need. If you are in pain, if you are uncomfortable, we are here. You are not alone. And we just kept reassuring him and spending that time. And when he was anxious, we let the nurse know, can you please help Joe with his medication, with, whatever will help him feel more at ease. And, all of us want the dying process to be very peaceful, and sometimes it isn't. And that's the elephant in the room. People don't really want to hear that. And yet it's true. It's, when you think of labor, birth and death, you think of labor. I mean, labor is certainly, it's very challenging and it's painful, and there's so many stages. And I feel like death is a parallel. Your body is shutting down, and there's you may go out fighting and punching and fighting and making noise, and all we can do is support people as much as possible. And also, I believe a lot of that, if they are dying with regret or unresolved issues, I believe that also really contributes. So all we could do is love Joe along the way, and I'm able to be there because I know that this is Joe's journey, and it's not for me to judge, to fix, to wish it to be different. I'm there to support Joe on his journey. And so that's what I did. And then the next day, my mom went back again during the day, and then it was about 6:30, and I said to my husband, I have to go to the hospital. I need to go, and I need to go right now. I need to go right now. I just have to go. And I got there. I arrived at 7 p.m. and Joe was alone in his room, and I knew he was taking his last breaths. And I said, Joe, I am here. Thank you for everything that you have taught us. Thank you for allowing us to be a part of your journey, your final journey. Take care, Joe. And at 7:22, Joe took his very last breath. Whew. Even as I say it, I mean, of course, there was a sadness in my heart. And at the same time, it was such a privilege to be there. And thank goodness I have all of my tools. And I'm still human, so it was emotional. But I know that this was his journey, and we did something wonderful for Joe. And moving forward, his little nurse came in, and I say little nurse because he was so young. And this was hard for him, and I loved it because he was a new graduate. He had only been a nurse for a year, and he had told my mom, this is really hard for me. And this was the first time that a patient of his died on his watch. And I said to him, let's see, I'll call him David. I said, David, you just showed up for Joe, and you made a difference because you cared. You said this is hard for you. I'm glad. Never stop caring, Joe. And I handed Joe my book and I said, this is a gift for you. Read this, because I wish I had read this at the beginning of my nursing career. Then I gave him an I Just Showed Up bracelet. And I said, this is where it matters, David. And I'm sorry, but I need to hug you right now. I'm sorry because I'm not sure you're a hugger, but I need to hug you. And he said, sure, that's okay. And so I hugged him. And we just stood for a moment in the room. And it was just this beautiful moment, you know, heartwarming, heart-wrenching, all of it. And so moving forward, my rituals, as always, I have my candle. This is my grief candle. And I light it for Joe and for his family. And then I write names on it. I wrote his name in a heart. I spent some time in nature. And I know now that as I continue to dismantle his life, his physical life, I know that his spirit is free. And I said, Joe, you will be free from your sick, tired body. Your spirit is free. And I know this and I believe this. This is what I choose to believe. And now I get to be the evidence that Joe's life made a difference, because that is one of the greatest things, be the evidence that someone's life made a difference. And so to honor Joe and to make a difference, that his life made a difference. In honor of Joe, we are bringing his clothes to the men's shelter. In honor of Joe, we are bringing the food he had that was unopened to the food bank. And so many other little things to do to honor his life, and that even after his death, he is contributing. He had bought us, he made sure we had a parking pass so that we could go visit him go in and out of the hospital and not have to pay every time. So I had a parking pass for a month. Well, we still have 2.5 weeks that this parking pass is still valid. And just last night, a friend of my mom's called her and said, oh, my mom's in the hospital. My mother had been trying to connect with this friend of hers, and it was her daughter who called and said, oh, my mom's in the hospital and she's sick, and I don't know, what's going to happen. I think she's going to be there for a while. And I said, you know what? I have a parking pass that you can use for the next few weeks, and it's free. And it meant so much to her. It meant so much to her. She said, oh, thank you. And I said, see, Joe, you're still helping people. His neighbors, Joe's neighbors, came out as we were cleaning the apartment. And I said, I have sad news about Joe. He took his last breath last night. We were there with him and we have supported him along the way. And I think Joe would love you to have something from the apartment if there's anything. And I mean, there was laundry detergent and cleaning things, or cleaning supplies and dishes and cups and all kinds of things and all of these plants. And I said, I'd like you to come in. And if there's something that you could use or you need, just please take it and think of Joe. I'd love you to have it in honor of Joe. And so it was meaningful for them and interesting. I could tell it was uncomfortable as well. And I just reassured people. I reassured them that, first of all, that he was not alone. We supported him and that I know he would be pleased with this. So we tried to do everything to honor Joe while he was still living. And he was part of the process and everything that we did. I spoke with Joe about it so that he felt, he was still in charge of things. Joe, this is what we're doing. What do you think? Would you like us to do something differently? And then we supported him at the very end of his life. And now as we continue this journey, I will continue to honor Joe. And when we're looking at his jewelry and everything we are sorting, think, wow, this is really nice. That must have been something special for Joe. And tomorrow, his brother will be coming to town. He just got back from Italy, and we will be connecting, and we will be talking about everything that we've done. We documented everything. We will be talking about Joe's last few weeks of life and all of his belongings that I thought would be meaningful, perhaps for the family, are things that we held on to. And I cleaned everything and sorted so that this brother could come and just see things, and everything is just so organized. And it's a lot. It's a lot to process. It's a lot to take in. And we know we can't do everything, but to do something and to make a difference just feels so good. To have my own coping skills and strategies and belief about life and death, and supporting others through their journey, it has made the difference for me. And I know we are making a difference. And that is the greatest thing that we can do. I'm so honored to be a part of this and to share this journey with you. And I will continue to share, because when I wrote my book and I'm speaking and I'm sharing this wonderful information on my show, and now we're living it, and it just validates everything that we have been learning and sharing. And so I invite you to continue to learn, grow, and evolve, so that you can just show up for others in life, grief, death, and all the messiness in between without suffering excessively, because you just show up for yourself first, because you filled that gap. You are now proactive, right? You have that solid foundation and that soft landing for yourself. You know how to acknowledge and allow your grief. And the other thing is, and you have boundaries that you're saying, you know what, today's enough. When we were sorting the apartment, everything, spending hours, and then we would go see Joe in the hospital, and then someone might want to have a conversation about it. And I say, you know what, I need to stop you. I'm sorry. I'm done today. I've got nothing left. I need to go home, put my fuzzy pants on, my socks and sandals, and I just need to shut down. And I will watch some goofy show on Netflix or whatever, have a bath with essential oils, whatever I needed in the moment. Sometimes I don't know what I need, and I know that just going for a walk, no matter what, is going to be good medicine. And so to have those boundaries in there as well, and to honor yourself, and to know that being the evidence that someone's life made a difference, and doing good deeds, good things, random acts of kindness, to honor them, is a beautiful thing. So thank you for allowing me to share this. I would love to hear if you've had any experiences like this, or things that make you really nervous, or you're afraid of when I have these conversations. And go to my website, loveyourlifetodeath.com. My book is there, Get Ready for Grief, my program, the I Just Showed Up bracelets, and do what you can to first make a difference in your own life. And then you can teach by example. So thank you again. I am so grateful that you just showed up. And my call to action is always, if you want to be able to just show up for others in life, grief, and death, plan your life, plan your death, and then just love your life to death. And always bring your own tambourine to the party. Thank you so much. Namaste. I will see you in the next episode for the next update on Joe and how we continue to honor Joe's life and his death. Bye for now.